Dominator of dynamite, the bomb of business, and provider of prizes, Alfred Nobel was a man of many great accomplishments. He employed his skills and knowledge of chemistry to create many groundbreaking innovations. He also led and created a business style which remains relevant today. He even left his fortune, which continues to benefit the recipients of the prize, the Nobel Prize. Born October 21st, 1833, to Emanuel and Carolina Nobel in Stockholm, Sweden, where he grew up with 3 brothers, Ludwig, Robert, and Emil. When Alfred was 4, his father moved to St. Petersburg, Russia, to begin a job manufacturing explosives. Alfred and his family reunited with his father in 1842. Alfred's parents became more affluent and decided to enhance his education by employing private tutors. Alfred became fluent in English, French, German, Russian, and Swedish. He later set off to France to work in the laboratory of Théophile Jules Palau for a year, where he mastered the art of chemistry. Palau was famous for his study of lipid chemistry. In 1855, he returned to Russia to work for his father's factory making military equipment for the Crimean War. After a depressing loss in Russia, the Russian military canceled their orders of explosives, causing Alfred's father Emanuel's business to go bankrupt. Alfred then moved back to Sweden with his family, where he started experimenting with explosives, mostly nitroglycerin. Nitroglycerin is a viscous, highly explosive liquid which had been discovered in 1847 by the Italian Ascanio Sobrero. In 1864, Nobel founded Nitroglycerin Aktiebolaget, a joint stock company in Sweden. A joint stock company is an association of individuals in a business enterprise with transferable shares of stock, much like a corporation, except that stockholders are liable for the debts of their business. Later on, in 1864, when Alfred was 29, his brother Emil died in a huge explosion in one of Alfred's factories that also killed 4 other people. The media originally put Alfred's name in the newspaper by mistake instead of his brother's. People started celebrating in the streets, chanting, "The killer is dead! The killer is dead!" Alfred was stunned when he saw people calling him names such as the Merchant of Death and a killer. He discovered people saw him as a man that became rich, finding different ways to kill people. He saw his work as a way to end wars and save lives, not start wars and destroy lives. Alfred later began experimenting with nitroglycerin and safer ways to ignite it. He then invented the blasting cap or detonator to ignite nitroglycerin by a strong shock rather than by heat, which made it easier to ignite from longer distances. Later, he found a way to absorb nitroglycerin into Kieslinger, which is a naturally occurring, soft, sedimentary rock that is easily crumbled into a fine, white-gray powder. The invention of dynamite was patented by Alfred in 1867. Alfred's new invention of dynamite threw mining into a whole new world. Dynamite could conveniently blow away chunks of rock, exposing ore and mineral deposits. Years later, Alfred established and led the world's first international holding company, the Nobel Dynamite Trust Company. International holding companies own shares in other companies and control or manage their joint business, similar to that of multinational enterprises of today. On November 27, 1895, Alfred unofficially signed his last will, witnessed by 4 of his friends. In his will, he left $31 million to fund monetary prizes awarded to people who make groundbreaking discoveries or innovations in the respective fields he found most interesting. 5 prizes are awarded annually on December 10th in Stockholm. The 5 categories consist of physics, chemistry, physiology or medicine, literature, and peace. These categories were his favorite interests. He loved poetry and had his own personal library. Examples of the people who won the Nobel Prize.
On behalf of the Nobel Committee, to hand over to you the insignia of the Nobel Peace Prize.
I accept the Nobel Prize for Peace at a moment when 22 million Negroes of the United States are engaged in a creative battle to end the long night of racial injustice.
Well, I think that prize, which I consider a tribute to the civil rights movement, more than a personal tribute to me, adds new international dimensions to the struggle. All along I have said that we have on our side the rolling tide of world opinion, but I think this gives tangible expression to that
Morning
view.
early. And how did I hear it at first? Oh, the press called me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what was your first reaction? Do you remember? Or is it...
Unbelief. I really couldn't believe it. I was so happy, and I haven't gotten over the delight yet.
We can acknowledge that oppression will always be with us and still strive for justice. We can admit the intractability of deprivation and still strive for dignity. Clear-eyed, we can understand that there will be war and still strive for peace. We can do that, for that is the story of human progress. That's the hope of all the world. And at this moment of challenge, that must be our work here on earth. Thank you very much.
Alfred Nobel led as a chemist, an entrepreneur, and left one of the most famous legacies known to man, the Nobel Prize. During his lifetime, he made one of the greatest innovations in explosives, dynamite, and the detonator. Created and led a new business style, which is still used today, and left a legacy of the Nobel Prize that motivates and inspires people to work harder and make more innovations and more discoveries that will help the human race.
Agree.